Welcome to the Experience Baseline walkthrough for creating merge requests. My name is Marcel van Wermerton. I'm one of the product designers here at GitLab for the create stage and mostly focused on the editor side. But today I'll be going over how to create a merge request and what kind of issues our users can encounter. Over the last couple of weeks, our product design team has done an experience baseline initiative where we look into some of the most frequent tasks our users have to do on our platform and look at what are the most often occurring issues, where are the users struggling the most, where we could help them do their tasks in a better way, and where we could improve. So let me start off and share my screen. This is how I would come into a project repository after I have committed to a branch that's new and doesn't have a merge request attached to it right now. I can already see that it kind of highlights that there's a branch where there's no merge request right now. And this is quite nice because it helps highlight this, it helps make it more obvious and make the user aware of this. So you can directly go ahead and create the merge request from here. The first couple of things the user will then see is the cursor. It's currently blinking, so it pushes the focus of the user into this field. It's the title of the entire merge request, and it's filled with the name of the most recent commit. This is quite nice because it can help give a bit more context, and it can help also give some kind of first direction, but the user can still change it. The second view will then probably go into the description field. And this is now a bit more complex because there's a lot filled in already. And we can see that to go over all of this, it takes a lot of focus, it takes a lot of time, so the user might want to see this in a more condensed way. And he already sees that he has a preview tab here, so he clicks into it and now has the rendered view. And this now is only one page. So let's assume the user stays in here for now. He already has done some tasks around the entire commit. So he could start to not write anything down here because writing happens in the right tab, but he could at least check off the changelog entry that he added. So he goes in, clicks, and then notices that this field is not enabled. This is not great. So he goes back to the right tab and first has to orient himself. Here in the preview tab, he was focused on this part. So when he clicks back, he kind of still has the same focus. He kind of still has the same idea, but the field is still scrolled all the way down, which kind of makes sense because that's where it was the last time. But now he has to orient himself. He has to find out where is the checkbox that I've been looking at before. Where is this? So he might be looking at either changelog entry or conformity, scroll up until he sees this, but it's already a big disconnect between what he's seeing and how he can change it. He arrives here. And now there's another question. How can I actually check the checkbox? I haven't yet used Markdown maybe so much as a user, so I don't have much experience and I will have to figure this out. For the checkbox, it's a bit more straightforward for other parts. So he could go ahead and try adding a big X. He could go to preview, see it works. Question is, would he also be able to figure this out for other parts, like for example, how to add one of these headlines? He will always have to look at how it's formatted here and what kind of markdown is around here. He could also go down to see the documentation, but it's not as obvious that he can go in here and actually see this. So the next parts, he would probably look at the instructions a bit more. And what you would see here is that there's a big comment. First, he would have to understand HTML to see this comment. Otherwise, he would be kind of confused. Why is this not rendering at all? But if he understands this, he can look into it and he can already read this. He can start to fill out the different parts and always jump back into preview and try to see whether everything renders as he wants it to. And now I see that I added this in the wrong field. Let's add it here. And go back to right. But what you can already see here, if I would continue to fill this out, all of this comment would stay in. But it's only visible in right. But if I submit this, will the comment still be there? And does that mean I submit additional data that's mostly used for how this template instruction is being rendered? If I submit this merge request and then edit the description, will I still be able to see this, or will this get deleted? It's very unclear how this will work. And also it can lead to a lot of unnecessary and additional data that gets duplicated for almost every issue if the user doesn't delete it himself. The same goes for if there are parts of the entire template that the user won't need. This example, does this merge request meet the acceptance criteria? I, as a user, maybe don't know what the acceptance criteria are. So what do? Do I leave this empty? Do I add some description like, I don't know? Do I completely delete it? There's multiple options and it's not clear what my next step should be. So this could lead to template text that gets deleted in some issues and some others it doesn't. This could lead to inconsistent fill-out behavior. Basically, it's a big problem because there's no consistency, there's no clarity. The user doesn't know how to do it. And as I mentioned before, it can also lead to problems later on because in the editing, maybe the user has deleted it. Someone else who had or wanted to access it because he knows it's there in other issues won't be able to access it anymore. There's too much inconsistency and too much unclarity around this. Next steps. I would scroll down, fill out all of this, see whether anything applies to me. And I can already see I have to scroll up and back down quite often. And with the fact that everything is rendered as plain text in the right field, it's very tough to see which section am I in right now. If I'm all the way down here and I quickly want to go back up to the acceptance criteria, I would scroll all the way down up, but I have nothing where I can fix my gaze on. I have nothing that stands out. In the preview, if I'm focused on the security and I will go back to the acceptance criteria, it's easy because I directly know it's a headline and the headline stands out. There's no way for me to have this kind of simple visibility in the right field. Plus, due to the comments and due to all this other data, it gets rendered quite large, which means here it's the size of at least 2 pages, while the preview is just 1. At the end of the description field, I noticed there's something that looks different from the other ones. Label feature. It looks like, and this is what the user probably expects when he sees it for the first time, manually adding labels to this description. The question is, does this feature then get added to the entire merge request? Is it only for a certain part of the description? It's not quite clear how this works. And when I look down further, I see that there's another label field. But this label field does not have feature inside, even though it's in the description. So there's again a disconnect between the description and between the surrounding UI. So what would happen if I look at these labels? Are these different labels because feature doesn't appear? Let's look at feature. Apparently it does appear. If I add it, seems to work, but I can only see it because it's highlighted here. If I go back, it's not there anymore. I cannot see it. Let's scroll down all the way until we get to feature, which takes quite some time. I cannot see it. It's not after E. E, F, G. So I assume that maybe it did not get added. Is it different than this label? I'm getting more and more confused. So let's search for it. And I know that this is a CSS issue, but usually the check mark gets rendered here more obviously. But still, this is again a disconnect, and this is not great because I still don't know whether this feature is the same as this one, and I also can't figure out whether it did get added either in here or by scrolling down, because apparently it gets ordered first the capital letters and then the smaller ones. So it's tough for me to understand what's the current status. Is it added? Is it not? What if I remove it here? Will it get removed from the description as well? Apparently no. So currently I have no idea whether it will get added to the merge request in the end or not. Let's try out to add some more. I'm a UX designer, so I'll add UX. I might also add something like UI. And I can see that this field here adds only a description of how many more labels there are. This is my first contribution, so let's also add this one. And it looks like all of these got added, but I can't see them anywhere. I don't know what these are. And if I go in here, I can see that first contribution is checkmarked, but I can't see the other ones. So if I'm a bit distracted and I want to go back and see what other labels did I select, I would have to scroll down all the way. And this is quite long. I'm still scrolling. So this is not a great experience. But when I look at this, maybe the slash means I have another opportunity to add more actions or to add more features. So I'll try this out. And I just involuntarily added another label. This should not have happened, but it shows that there's also a problem. Let's go into a new line and add something else. Let's see what we could add. Looks like we have 5 options to add other things, because the scroll doesn't go further down. So these seem to be all the actions that I have available, but there's no label inside. So this is confusing again. I don't know whether I can now add a label or whether this maybe is not going to work at all. It's confusing me more and more and more. Let's say I would add a milestone now. Same issue as before. I would add milestone 12.1. I also saw that there's a milestone field here. So let's add milestone 12.2 here. I cannot imagine that milestone is a multi-select feature. So which will take priority? Which milestone will get added to the merge request? This is now becoming more and more confusing to me and more inconsistent. So let's just go further for now. The next field is assignee. And I'm not exactly sure what this could mean. It has assigned to me highlighted next to it. So maybe it is whoever created this one. But don't they have this data already by me creating it and by my user account? Maybe it's the person who will have to work on it the next time. But then I look further down and I see approvers. And if I have a merge request, isn't the next step in the process to approve it? So why is there a disconnect between assignee and approver? How does that work? Let's look a bit more closer into the approvers. One of the first things that stands out, there are suggested approvers, even Reed. I've never met him, I've never heard of him, but if he's suggested, maybe somebody else in the entire organization knows why, and maybe they put some smart rules in there. So maybe it's a good idea to add him here. I guess this is what's going to happen if I click on here. Either I go to his profile or he gets added automatically. So let's try it out. Okay, apparently it scrolled all the way up to the top of the page. Let's see if anything else changed. Apparently not. So this is either broken or I don't understand what's currently happening. Okay, so let's manually add somebody else. If I look into the approvers, I can see that there's already a rule here. All members with developer rule or higher and code owners. This, first of all, looks a bit confusing. I don't know who the code owners are. I can't see them. I can't look at them. I don't even know who I could ping for that. So this is not really great. I see I can edit it, but I don't want this rule at all. Why can't I delete it? Let's just see whether I can delete all the data from it and use it for however I want to. I go in, and I see there's no data inside except for the no approvals required, which is set to 1. If I set it to 0, does that mean it will disappear? Let's try it out. No, it's still there. So let's try to add approvers. I have a friend who I know from the organization, so maybe let's try to add her. Great. So it looks like I now added her. I know her approval is required, but I can see that I can also add the number of approvals. What if I set this to 5? Does this mean she will have to approve 5 times now? Because it doesn't seem to be connected to the number of members. This is confusing. Well, let's go for now. I'll add approvers. And it gives me 2 error messages. Please select and add a member. But I selected one. It looks like I also have to add one. So I have to click here, but I already selected him. This is feeling very weird to me. Let's go ahead and do so. I add. Seems to be working. The error disappeared. I also have to provide a name. For example, QA, security, or anything else. I don't know what name I should add here because I don't know what these approval rules exactly do. I don't know whether these names will be visible to anybody else. So what name would be helpful at all? Let's just use test for now, just to make the error disappear and see what happens. Click on add approvers. And it looks like the entire previous rule disappeared, even though I added approvers. So there's already a disconnect. What if I click add approvers again and add more people? Will they go into here, or will it be a second rule? This seems to be inconsistent, but apparently now I can delete this. Let's see what happens. So deleting this just switches it back to the default rule. This is also a bit inconsistent and feels weird. Let's do the same again. I add test. I'll make this to 3. I will add Alexis again. And I click add approvers. Let's see whether adding even maybe works now. Still no. Okay. Well, good enough for now. Let's go back and look at the assignees. I still don't have anybody assigned, so I could assign it to me, but I don't know what that means. Will I have more work? Will I have to do something else? I'll just leave it empty for now. Is there anything else I missed? Doesn't look like this. And now I go down, and because I actually want this to go into a different branch, I now want to change my branches, but it looks like this is disabled. but I still have the option to change branches. Why do I need to go to another screen as it looks like this? Will this work? Could this make these drop-downs enabled? If it goes to a different screen, will I lose all my progress from here? This would be pretty bad. So this is a point where the user really is very scared of losing his progress and might not want to click on this. Let's see what happens if I do so. Click on Change Branches. First of all, it takes a lot of time. So this is already very scary to the user. Right now, he's very scared because if he loses his progress from the entire work before, he will be pissed off. So let's see and wait for a bit and hope the new page will show up soon. There it is. And it looks like it's going to the same project, but on the branch. Let's see whether I can put it somewhere else. I'll just put it in here. Let's compare branches and continue. And now I'm very afraid because if I lose all my progress, this is what caused it. And this is why I'm even more afraid, and I would maybe go back a couple of times to make sure that it's still there. I maybe would copy all the description text into somewhere else. And I would be really afraid that all the other aspects, such as labels, approval rules, and so on, would get deleted. And it looks like it did. Because what we can see here, all the labels are gone. The milestone is gone. It looks like all my progress from the description is gone. I can't see anything that I added. So this changing of branches, deleting everything that we had before, and all the data that we had done or that we had changed before, is a big, big issue. It's something where we could really piss off our users. So let's add some data again, just to make sure that I have something to play around with after we create this merge request. I also have the label. I have the milestone. And just to see whether all these, let's make it just this one label, first contribution and feature. So we would have two labels if everything goes right. And we would also have two milestones if everything goes right. We had Alexis here, who had to approve 5 times. Or maybe this is just incorrect and then not possible to merge at all. I now have a different suggested approval. And now I see all the way to the top that there is a review for the contribution guidelines, which after I filled in everything and after I already got a lot of guidelines for how I should do this on top of here, seeing this down here could make this feel very weird. The user could be confused whether these guidelines are actually what he would see here, whether they are something different, which ones take priority. It's just a bit weird. But for now, let's go ahead and submit the merge request. I hope I don't disturb anybody working on this right now, but I will directly close it afterwards again. So let's submit it. Takes a lot of time again. Whoop, 500 error. Well, this is not great. Let's see if we can still manage to create this merge request. This is taking quite long, but it did get created. And what we can see now is that we do have all this description here that got added. If I go down a bit, we have a request to merge. Some pipelines are already running. And it seems like we now have 5 more approvals from test, but only 1 eligible approval. So I'm still not sure whether she will be able to actually merge this. So I would love to maybe go ahead and either just merge this myself or at least go down and make sure that she only has to approve it once. But I don't know where I could do this anymore. Maybe if I click the edit, but this could also be just for the entire description. Let's see. So I click edit and it looks like it could work. So let's go down to 1 and save the changes. I'll hopefully come back to the merge request. And this again takes a lot of time. So we'll just have to wait. I also noticed in the meantime that the suggested approver changed. So this could be something good, but I also wonder, why did it change? Is it random? And if it is, maybe it would be helpful to see a list of potential approvers so that I know this person is on vacation or this person is out, this person is not in the organization anymore. I could pick somebody else. So let's go down. I now see it only requires approval from 1 person. So this should work now. I see a lot of warnings. I see a lot of conflicts. I already see somebody discuss this. But it looks like a discussion on other commits because it's 20 hours ago and I only submitted this merge request a couple of minutes ago. So this also feels a bit weird again. Let's look at the sidebar. I see that nobody got assigned, which makes sense because I only have approvers. But it seems like there only is 1 milestone. So that means something that I added did not get taken over. I see that there are 2 labels. So this is as expected. 2 participants, the approver and me, and the notifications are on. So let's say after I did all of this, I waited for a couple of days, but nothing ever got merged. Nobody approved. So let's see whether I can maybe add myself as approver and just approve it myself. I see here there's the approval section. I will just add myself. That seems to be working. Wait, why is the name not filled out? And why is Alexis not here? Let's just see. Let me click on approvers. Let me fill out the same name as the other time. Oh, now we have two different sections. This is weird. So maybe I'll have to delete this one and click on edit here. But then this other button is not add approvers, but add new approval section. So let me add myself again here. Add myself, still one approval. I update the approvers. This seems to be working quite well. So now I should be able to save my changes, go back to the merge request and approve myself, which is a great feeling to me. So let's save it, go back. So let's go down. Oh, still only one eligible approver. Seems like I got removed. Maybe I cannot approve myself, but in that case, the UI should have pointed that out. So this now feels very bad to me because I don't know where the error is. I don't know whether I should or could approve it. The UI doesn't say it to me anywhere, but I have tried it out any way that I could, and I can't do anything else right now. So I guess I'll just have to wait for now, and then hope that Alexis approves it soon. Besides from that, the rest in here looks pretty clear for now. And thank you for watching the Experience Baseline walkthrough.